It has been 9 years since I began investigating the very secretive refugee admissions program, which turned 36 years old this year, and reported on what I found at my blog, Refugee Resettlement Watch. A joint enterprise of the U.S. State Department and the United Nations, the Refugee Admissions Program was the brainchild of former Senators Ted Kennedy and Joe Biden. It was signed into law by President Jimmy Carter in 1980. And since then, it has admitted almost 2 million refugees into your towns and cities. In recent years, the federal government admitted, on average, 60 to 70,000 refugees a year and placed them in hundreds of U.S. towns and cities in 49 states, where they immediately, upon arrival, receive all forms of welfare, including Social Security for the elderly and disabled. Barack Obama has increased that number to 85,000 for this year, 10,000 of which are Syrian Sunni Muslims, and he vowed that next year he would propose bringing 100,000. In September, Obama will have his last opportunity to change America by changing its people. But we think he will go way beyond 100,000 as the resettlement industry, composed of 9 federal contractors, or VOLAGs, began a huge propaganda campaign in Washington yesterday on August 28th. A rally that fizzled spectacularly. They held a pathetically small AstroTurf event to demand even higher numbers for fiscal year 2017, which begins on October 1st, demonstrating that popular support for more refugees is tepid. This Washington, D.C. rally, funded by George Soros and his globalist friends, is the lead-up to a refugee extravaganza to be held at the United Nations, where we know that the Organization of Islamic Cooperation has great influence. Obama will travel to New York City for 2 days in September, the 19th and the 20th, to play host to world leaders and make Americans feel guilty about not welcoming poorly vetted Syrian refugees to their neighborhoods. Clearly, the timing of the event is meant to impact the November election, as Hillary Clinton has said she is in favor of much larger numbers of refugees, especially Syrians. She's on record saying that she wants 65,000 Syrians in the next year. 65,000 when we barely managed 10,000 this year. That would be in addition to the 100,000 or more from other countries. This summer, I spent 30 days on the road visiting refugee-overloaded towns and cities in 13 states, and I can assure you that citizens were extremely concerned wherever I went. They fear for their economic futures as well as the future of their towns, where already they see signs of creeping Sharia, zoning fights over the locations of mosques, aggressive demands for special prayer break times in the workplace, and special accommodations in school systems as the Muslim population increases, often because some large multinational food processing or manufacturing corporation is demanding the cheap refugee labor. There's only one entity that could rein in Soros and Obama's ambition, and that is Congress. The Constitution gives Congress the power of the purse. All eyes will be on the legislators in the House and the Senate. They will decide your family's future through the choices they make. Congress, led by Republicans, will decide whether or not to fund Obama's proposed refugee numbers. Those 9 federal contractors, or VOLAGs, do not have money of their own. They resettle refugees with millions of your tax dollars. Turn off the U.S. Treasury spigot and the flow of refugees will stop. It should most certainly be stopped until a new president sets the tone in 2017. There are alternatives to costly and disruptive resettlement that benefit the refugees and the U.S. taxpayer, including the creation of safe zones in the Middle East and Africa where refugees would be cared for until the conflict ends. Saudi Arabia comes to mind as a prime location. You, as citizens, must become engaged in finding such alternative solutions, because the Soros-Obama-Clinton solution most certainly puts the future of the great American experiment in jeopardy. The future of your children and grandchildren is in your hands.